Hello friends and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Joycey Joy and today in this lecture we will discuss about the infrastructure allocations made in the interim budget. Now coming to the current affair, the government had recently presented the interim budget in the parliament. So what is an interim budget? In the interim budget, the government seeks the approval of the parliament for meeting the expenditure for the first 4 months of the financial year. That means certain salaries needs to be dispersed. So ongoing programs in various sectors needs to be implemented. For such expenses, the government will seek the approval of the parliament. And at the end of the term of a government will usually present an interim budget or a vote on account rather than a full budget. So recently the present NDA government had presented its last budget and it was an interim budget. So we have already discussed about all the details of the interim budget. You can watch the video on in-depth analysis of interim budget on the StudyIQ channel. Now coming back to our topic, that is infrastructural allocations made in the interim budget. So in the last interim budget that was presented by the government had actually reduced the budgetary allocations to infrastructural development. So we will analyze this issue in detail in this lecture. Now infrastructure can be divided into physical infrastructure and social infrastructure. Physical infrastructure refers to all those long-term physical assets, for example the roads, the railways, the airports, the connectivity, etc. So this is called physical infrastructure. Whereas social infrastructure means the creation of social assets, for example schools, hospitals, universities, community housing, etc. So infrastructure can be broadly divided into physical infrastructure and social infrastructure. So the significance of infrastructure lies in the fact that infrastructure will help in improving the economic growth. It will help in the creation of jobs. It will increase the productivity or the output rate in an economy, and it will also give access to markets and services in an economy. So creation of infrastructure in an economy is very important. Now coming to the Vision 2030. The Union government in the interim budget 2019, that is the latest budget, unveiled its vision for 2030. So under Vision 2030, the government listed or presented 10 dimensions. And these dimensions are helpful for India to create a new India where poverty, malnutrition, littering, illiteracy would be a matter of the past. So 10 dimensions were listed in the Vision 2030, which was presented in the interim budget of 2019. Now coming to the 10 dimensions in brief, the first one was regarding physical and social infrastructure. So government said that in order to provide an ease of living, the physical and social infrastructure, which includes roads, railways, seaports, airports, inland waterways, along with social infrastructure like schooling, hospitals, healthcare, etc., is necessary in order to provide ease of living to its citizens. So in the Vision 2030, the first dimension is physical and social infrastructure. So in that sense, we can say that the government has given an importance to creation of infrastructure, both physical and social, in its interim budget 2019. Now we will analyze this in detail. We will see what are the concerns. But before moving into it, let us briefly understand what are the other 9 dimensions. The second one is creation of a digital India. The third one, to create a clean and green India. The fourth one, rural industrialization. The fifth one is clean rivers. The sixth one is oceans and coastline. Seventh one is space. The eighth one is self-sufficiency in food production. Ninth one, health. And the 10th one is minimum government and maximum governance. So these are the 10 dimensions or 10 focus areas under the Vision 2030 document. Now coming to the first one, that is creation of physical and social infrastructure. So we are talking about the infrastructure allocations made in the interim budget. So the first focus or the first dimension under the Vision 2030, which was presented in the interim budget, was regarding the creation of physical and social infrastructure. Now we will understand what were the announcements made in the budget with regard to the creation of infrastructure. So we can divide the infrastructure broadly into roadways, airways, waterways and railways. So here we are talking about the physical infrastructure, not the social infrastructure. So we can divide it into roadway, airway, waterway and railway. Now first coming to the roadways. India has emerged as the fastest highway developer in the world, and in India 27 kilometers of highways are being constructed every day. So with this, India has become the fastest highway developer in the world. And in the budget, government has allocated rupees 19,000 crore for Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. So Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana is a scheme for creation of rural roads, or we can say all-weather roads in rural areas. So we will see that this 19,000 crore rupees, it is similar to the allocations that were made in the last year. Now coming to the second one, that is airways. So government has a flagship program, that is Udaan, that is Udaan. Udaan is Udhe Desh Ka Aam Nagarik. So the aim of Udaan was to increase the number of operational airports in India. And after the scheme was launched, the domestic passenger traffic in India has doubled. And this happened in a time frame of 5 years. So since its launch, that is since 2014, the passenger traffic in Indian airports have increased by 2 times. So that is one major significance of this Udaan scheme. Now thirdly, coming to waterways. For the first time, a container cargo was moved via inland waters from Kolkata to Varanasi, and the same would be introduced to deliver containers to northeast via Brahmaputra river. So here the significance of Sagarmala program has been highlighted. So Sagarmala has the potential of developing India's inland waterways. Now what is Sagarmala program? Sagarmala program is the union government's flagship program that aims to achieve the broad objective of promoting port-led economic development in India. So it aims to utilize the potential of ports or the coastline, and it envisages the growth of coastal and inland shipping as a major mode of transportation for the carriage of goods and people along the coastal and riverine economic centers. So the aim is that Sagarmala, when it is integrated with the development of inland waterways, this will help in reducing the cost and time for transporting goods. So this will benefit the industries and traders. So port-led economic development or coastline-based economic development is the objective of Sagarmala project. Now fourth one is the railways. The capital expenditure program of Indian Railways has been kept at an all-time high. That means the allocation to railways for its capital expenditure has been kept high by the union budget. Rupees 1.58 lakh crore has been allocated for the capital expenditure program of Indian Railways in the next fiscal year. So major changes that are initiated are that all the unmanned level crossings would be completely eliminated. So we have seen previous examples of rail accidents in India, and one major reason is the unmanned level crossings. So every unmanned level crossings would be eliminated completely in the next fiscal year, and that is one intention. Second one is to provide faster connectivity to those parts of the country that had lesser access in the past. So increasing the accessibility and bringing more safety is the two aims or intentions of the government when it has decided to provide an all-time high for the capital expenditure in Indian Railways. And also the first indigenously built Vande Bharat Express was introduced in line with the Make in India drive. So such type of facts could be important for your preliminary level of examination in any of the exam that you are competing for. So remember, the first indigenously built train as a part of the Make in India drive was Vande Bharat Express. Now, these were the major announcements made by the Union Ministry in the interim budget. Now, moving on to the concerns. The first one, we have seen that Indian Railways has received the highest ever capital expenditure of rupees 1.58 lakh crores. But we will see that an equitable allocation for the road and the aviation sectors were not made in the interim budget. If we consider the road infrastructure, we will see that the government has reduced its budgetary support to the NHAI, that is National Highways Authority of India by over 631 crore. So allocations to the NHAI or for the road development has come down. Now what is the impact of this? Now NHAI, National Highways Authority of India, would have to gear up for higher fundraising through either borrowing or by monetizing the road assets. And similarly with the Sagarmala scheme also, the government only spent rupees 381 crore in financial year 19, that is in the last financial year, but the actual allocation that was made in the last financial year was 600 crore. So even though there was a 600 crore allocation made, only 381 crore was spent, and this year in the interim budget the allocation is reduced to 550 crore. Now as we have discussed in the beginning, the infrastructure sector is a very important sector or very important for the economic growth and job creation in the country. So government has to enhance allocations for the sector. You can find the PDF of this lecture on my Facebook page, and for any queries regarding your UPSC preparations, you can get in touch with me on my Facebook page, or you can email me at joyce.studyiq@gmail.com. Thank you.